Steve Clarke looks set to be the man that will hopefully lead us to the 2026 World Cup. But who will be the man to take charge after that tournament? Well, we're maybe going to get a closer look with the next Scotland manager odds. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Football. Steve Clarke, I believe, will now be the manager at least for the first round of qualifying games in September for the World Cup. Obviously, the qualifying rounds now are a lot shorter. Sometimes it used to take over the place of a year. Now we're getting it within 3 months. So we will know by the end of November, or mid-November even, whether or not we are going to be at the World Cup. And I think probably by that time, we will know whether or not Steve Clarke is going to remain the manager. Because I think that if he doesn't get us to the World Cup, he will probably walk away. I think if he does get us to the World Cup, he will walk away after the World Cup. So either way, I don't really see Steve Clarke long-term future as Scotland manager. I just don't think it's likely. An embarrassing couple of results in the opening few games might get him out early, but I think that we're stuck with him at least until the qualifiers have been played. And if he does get us to the World Cup, then I think that there is potential that he will just walk away after that. But who knows? Maybe he doesn't get us to the World Cup, and maybe he sticks around until the summer anyway. And then they can bring somebody else in after the World Cup and almost have like a fresh start, so to speak. But who could that man be? Well, we have manager odds here, courtesy of gambling.com. They have produced a list of managers. It could be the next Scotland manager, and I'm not too happy with the names. Got to be honest here. So we've got the favourite at the moment, who is Scott Brown. He is 75. Obviously, as we know, he's the current Ayr United manager. I think he's done a decent job at Ayr. Previously, he was down at Fleetwood, and I believe he got sacked for them. Came up to Ayr, was in a championship fight. Started the season very well. Some people were predicting them to go and win the championship. It didn't happen then. Didn't materialise. They kind of fell off, and then they lost the first round of the playoffs, the third versus fourth team, and they lost to the team that finished below them. So, yeah, it was a disappointing end. I just don't think Steve Clarke's done it. I don't think Scott Brown's done enough to walk into the Scotland job. Definitely not. I get it. He was a good player for us, and 100% wouldn't deny that. But I just see no reason as to why people would be excited about this. I just don't see it. And he's not a big enough name that he can justify, in my opinion, just walking in there. Maybe if it was his first job, I'd be more willing to give him a chance. But considering he's already had 2 managerial jobs and he hasn't exactly, blown anybody away, I just don't see Scott Brown being the guy. I hope that he isn't the man, and I don't think he will be, to be honest. Second favourite, we have Barry Ferguson, who is 64. Again, I don't see this. You look at his level of management before he took over at Rangers, wasn't great. He then took over at Rangers, and to be honest, that wasn't great either. A couple of good results against Celtic, a good result in Europe, unlucky against Bilbao, but domestically it was shite, and just similar to Scott Brown. He's a good player for Scotland, but for me, not Scotland managerial, not quality. I don't think so. I would need to see him do well at a club first. And to be honest, it doesn't look like he's any interest in managing, so maybe he would reconsider for the national job of Scotland, but I don't want him in there. If he did well at Rangers, then yeah, maybe, but not what we got. No, definitely not. We've got Scott Gemmill then at 2-1. Sean Maloney, 9-4. Stephen Naismith, 5-2. I don't think any of those guys are good options. I can see a world where Maloney or Naismith get it. I think they're more likely to get it than Brown or Ferguson. But I wouldn't be too pleased with any of them. You've got Gary Caldwell. He scored a couple of important goals for Scotland, but I just don't see him being the manager. You got Gary McAllister, not for me. Graham Alexander is, he's done a job in the top flight of Scotland in the past, and by saying doing a job, he's did he not lose? Was he not the one that got Motherwell beat 3-0 on aggregate by Larne? I believe he was. Look, he's been around, but he's done nothing impressive enough to earn the Scotland job, so I'm going to say no to him. Davy Gray, doing a great job right now for Hibs. If he keeps it up for another season, then maybe. If he can have another successful season at Hibs, and then we get to the summer of 2026 and the Scotland job becomes available, then I would maybe consider David Gray. But right now, I would be reluctant to give him it based on one good season at Hibernian. Davy Martindale, I know a guy that's been around the block. He would bring passion for sure. I'd probably rather Davy Martindale than a large majority of the people that we've already talked about so far. I just don't quite think that he's got the credentials. I mean, as a big jump into it for Livy to Scotland. Then you got Darren Ferguson at 10-1. And last but not least on this list, we've got Davy Moyes at 12-1. He would be the pick. Davy Moyes would be the guy that we want. Absolutely. We'd all take Davy Moyes right now. You know, he's had a really good managerial career. Probably doesn't get the credit he deserves. I think that stint at United will always be a black mark on his managerial career. Don't think it was his fault. He was the first man to take over from Fergie. He was always going to struggle. There was always going to be a drop-off, but people just associate it, United being really bad under Moyes as Moyes' fault, but we've seen since Moyes that every manager has been crap, so it's not a case of Davy Moyes was crap or he wasn't good enough. It's just United have been in freefall since Fergie left, and I think if you consider that the lack of money that David Moyes spent and the fact that, I mean, Fergie won that league the previous season by a shitload of points, but it was a poor team. Fergie somehow won it by about 18 points, but that United team that he left Moyes, it wasn't great. Moyes didn't spend a lot of money either. Brought in Fellaini, and maybe that was a bad signing. Although I do think Fellaini did, he did all right for United. He's not going to go down as a legend, but to say that Fellaini was probably similar to Moyes because of how bad, you know, United were. He got a lot of criticism, but in reality, I don't think that his move to United was that bad. And I think Moyes is all right, especially if you compare him to the other managers like Van Gaal. Ten Hag, you know, these guys have spent a shitload of money and done nothing. Yeah, Mourinho won a few trophies, won an FA Cup, won a Europa League, so, I mean, good for him, but that's Jose Mourinho. He has the special one. He wins things. But David Moyes, I'd 100% take him. You know, he did really good at Everton in his first stint. He won that European trophy with West Ham. Now he's back at Everton, and he's doing great things with Everton again. Only problem is, I can't imagine he would leave Everton to come to Scotland. I think the only way Moyes leaves Everton to come to Scotland is if he gets sacked. That's the only. He's not going to voluntarily leave unless he decides that he's getting older and maybe, you know, he doesn't want the schedule of a club team anymore. Then that's the only thing we've got going for us. But I just doubt this guy is going to look at Scotland and think of it as a more like attractive, option than West Ham. But who knows, or Everton even. Maybe the guy will show a bit of patriotism, which we all need. Or maybe we could get Mel Gibson in, you know, just stick a skirt on the guy. Freedom! Anything like that. I don't know, but a lot of these names, guys, I'm no interested. And let me know who you think. Out of these names mentioned, who would you rather see get the job? Who would be your preferred option? And I'll catch you in the comments. Till next time, peace.